Father God, give us strength to do this episode because all our hearts are kind of heavy. Lighten them up and let us get through this day and this week and next week and every week after that. Let us have a good day. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of ID Please Podcast. Today's a different kind of episode because of everything that's going on with this movement of Black Lives Matter. All of us have on black shirts today because we are in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. Shout out to our other co-hosts who couldn't be here today, Brian and Kiara. They couldn't be here today, but let's just jump right in, guys. There's a lot to unpack. The past week, 2 weeks have been a lot. Let's just go ahead and start talking about it. Where can we start?
I think we should start with the death of George Floyd.
All right.
Yo, it's so much. I have no words, and I've been struggling to find words.
Yeah. It's frustrating and overwhelming at the same time.
Yeah. Well, let's since we start with George Floyd, can somebody or would anybody like to take a stab at explaining how he was even arrested or getting arrested? What happened that led up to the moments of him saying, "I can't breathe"?
So
I believe, if I may, go ahead, bro.
So from what they were explaining is that he was being arrested for, I think, writing a bad check or trying to spend a counterfeit money, which it turned out it wasn't. But that's neither here nor there. The point is why he was arrested. So he was detained because he was accused of trying to spend a bad check. And how he got from in handcuffs to on the wall to in the car to back out of the car on the ground, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Basically.
And
there's really not. I mean, that's just the story. Like, there's nothing more to even unpack. Like, that's what happened. And I believe the total was only about $20.
I think it was
$20.
$20.
This man died over $20.
Yeah, $20.
Yeah,
so $20 check. Like, even if it was a bad check, $20. Like, okay.
The thing is, it's not. It's not the duty of the cops to decide if his life is worth a $20 check or not.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Trey, what would you get ready to say? I'm sorry.
I think it's way bigger, and this whole movement, I just know that it is. It's way bigger than the George Floyd situation. The thing about it is, and a lot of white people or other ethnicity people are starting to see, because this was a different kind of case, but this has been going on for a long time. Like, this isn't the first. I mean, if we were to unpack this year as a whole, you got Breonna Taylor, you got Ahmaud Arbery, you have the guy that was in the park that asked the lady nicely to put the dog away, and then she called the police. Like, this, that could have turned into a different situation. You got people. I remember 2 weeks ago there were like 4 cases that happened in 1 week, to where racial discrimination and all this other kind of stuff was going on, and a lot of this stuff could have ended up like George Floyd or Ahmaud or Breonna. Like, it's bigger than that. This movement is so, it's sad because you don't realize. I don't know. I ain't trying to get emotional. It's just a lot. Somebody else talk.
It is a lot. It's a lot, and it's been happening for a long time. And for people to, I guess, finally see it, it's kind of, I don't know. It's still frustrating, but it's kind of like, okay, maybe they're getting it. Maybe they're getting it now, because we do have a lot of allies now, or we're gaining some, because I think people are kind of understanding. But then you still have people who feel like racism doesn't exist. You still have feel like Black people just need to cooperate. You still have people who feel like, we are the inferior race based upon nothing, like, basically, you know what I mean? So it's a lot. It's been going on for a long time. It's a heavy topic. it's almost, I almost just don't even want to talk about it, but it's relevant and it's something that we need to talk about, because the more you talk about it, the more you get educated, the more people know, the more we can figure out what we need to do to change it.
Absolutely.
Do y'all feel that the violent protest is the answer? Like, I've been saying a lot of no justice, no peace. So the way that a lot of or the looting, the way that a lot of our peers are going about it, do y'all feel like at this point it is the correct way? Because it's like no one have heard us all these other years, and so they don't hear us until we breaking up stuff. So
sorry, go ahead, Brittany. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I think so. There are some people who are looting, but the movement is being hijacked by other people who have other agendas.
Yeah,
There are who are looting, but there are also other parties who are purposely coming to protest, who are purposely starting fires and starting the break-ins and leaving to make it seem like it's us. Like, people have stolen from us and have tried to take the spotlight off of us forever, and they are still doing it to the point where they are hijacking this movement and making, like, people don't even care about the George Floyd thing because they concentrating on the looting and rioting.
Exactly.
There's so protests that are happening, but there are people who are literally hijacking this movement like they do everything else that we have and everything else that we create for their own agenda. So looting and rioting, no, is not the way, but honestly, it ain't even us that's doing it. A lot, it's not the majority of us, I'll say, that is even doing. That's a whole, like, I was looking up, it's some far left group, it's a bunch of different groups that are like
Antifa, like,
that are doing it, but of course Black Lives Matter is getting blamed for it.
So I do believe that part of rioting is coming from Black Lives Matter. Now, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, because I don't think that there is going to be a right or wrong way you are protesting an injustice in your government. When majority of your government is believing that this is the right way and this is okay, this doesn't exist, is all in your head, there's no way that after almost 600 years of oppression that is came out of nowhere. So there's not going to be a right or wrong way, only because with every action there's a reaction. We're continuing to being killed in the street. We're continuing to have systemic oppression. We're continuing to see racism every single day. And it's coming from those MAGA flags that we're seeing flag on somebody's truck or their cars or their shirts. It's all, there's never going to be a right or wrong way to protest this.
That's that, and you were talking about right or wrong, like, because Colin Kaepernick was kneeling on one knee and they were telling him not like that. Like,
exactly.
In the shirts, I can't breathe, and they was telling them, no, you don't, like, this is not the place for that. Like, so now we in the street, and it's like, no, that's not. So there is no right or wrong way, because everything that we try to do, even if it's quote unquote right, they'll call it wrong because it's offensive to them, or I just don't think
it makes it uncomfortable for them to talk about it.
Right, it makes them uncomfortable for them to talk. Now is the time for, so this is the thing. Do I agree personally with looting and rioting? For me, no. Do I understand it? Absolutely, doggone,
absolutely.
I do. The thing is, if we were silent, like Colin Kaepernick, who kneeled, tried to do it peacefully, and y'all got to understand, Martin Luther King, anybody else that try to do stuff peacefully, y'all kill or y'all talk about or bash them, and y'all wanted them to be silent. If they had not started looting, if they had not started rioting, then would this become the conversation that we're having today?
Absolutely
I don't think so. Because with Ahmaud, Georgia should have rioted and looted for Ahmaud, wherever Breonna Taylor was from, whenever George Zimmerman and that what's homie's name? Trayvon Martin. With Trayvon Martin, that situation alone should have had the same effect. But there wasn't enough outrage, quote unquote, like this one is happening.
So I don't think that it's not enough. Yeah, I don't think that it's enough outrage. I think there's nothing else to take the focus off of it. So now that we're all in this pandemic together, and this is what I was watching his memorial service. We're in this pandemic together. We have nothing to do because everything is basically still closed. Mm-hmm. There's no other thing to report on besides the numbers of COVID cases. So what they're going to focus on are the people who are rioting against, or the people who are destructing our country. No, we're not disrupting the country. Now that we have your attention, finally. We can get some shit done.
Right.
Absolutely. I definitely agree.
I was having a conversation. I'm sorry. AJ, go ahead.
And Brooke, I get you. And again, this is not the time, I think, for us to argue about anything. I just want to state that because I don't want to, when I'm going against what somebody's opinion, I don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to, cause division between us. And I get what you're saying, but I guess my question would be, so many times, like Trey was saying, with George Zimmerman or so many others that have came before George Floyd, we would see this. We would see the protests, and then the hype would die down, and then we'll protest again when the next one comes or when the next one happens. So I guess my thing would be, or my question would be rather, okay, so what do we do now besides just the protesting? Because we'll do this for a couple of months, if that, and then it'll die down. Everything goes back to normal, and then somebody else, and then it's like, oh, well, it's like another name added, and then we all jump in or looting again. It's just like, okay, so how do we keep this going, or how do we keep it in their face at this point? Because I don't feel like we've been doing that in the past. And when I say we, I'm including myself in it because, I haven't been, constantly reminding, you know what I'm saying? So I guess my question would be, okay, what do we do now besides just the protesting? Because I believe it needs to be a little bit more than just that. Whether it's
you're right.
So the thing, AJ, is I don't think necessarily, and I understand what you're saying, but in order to make change, it can't really for real come from us. We've been talking about this since I was born. We've been talking about this since my mom was born. Talking about this since your grandmother was born. It's not us. What's happening now is other people are starting to see stuff in other people. I had this girl that I went to high school with. Her name Julianne. I hope she don't mind me putting her name out there. She probably said this. She was the first person. She was like, I was blindsided by the fact that this was going on. I feel bad because I didn't see what was going on. Now that I see it, how can I help? What can I do? There was another young lady, she was white as well, and she commented, here are some books that you can read up. Here are some articles. Here are some newspapers, like giving you like 75 ways that you can help out with, police brutality and Black Lives Matter, stuff like that. Right. It's not on us. It's not on us to fix a situation that we didn't create, that we didn't start. It's up to them. Now that they are seeing all of this, they are people. I have people in my inbox saying, Trey, I didn't realize this was such an issue. I didn't realize this. I didn't realize that. But now I see that you live in fear every day. High school, I explained to them that high school kept me safe. College even kept me safe because I went to school at the same college my mama worked at. After that, that's when it got real. And it's hard to explain that or articulate that to people who don't see it. Now that they're starting to see it because the pandemic has everybody in one location at their house, this is why it's exposing everything. And this is why I think we're going to make a change. There's and I'm sorry, I'm going to be done in a minute. But there's a Chelsea Handler who was a comedian and everything like that. She was talking about something called defunding the police because there was so much money going to the police force that could go to other places. Black communities, teachers, healthcare, all this other kind of stuff. But we give so much money to the police. Okay, let's defund them. That's not saying that, they're going to,
ban the police force.
Yeah,
it just means that they're going to reallocate some of the funds that are set aside for. I got you. Calm down. You good. So
I'm sorry. It's a lot. I'm sorry, but
I get it. I think that is a great idea. I think that they do need to reallocate.
I'm tired. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Now that just took me out.
Why is that? I'm sorry. Why do you have tied to?
I didn't even know. Like it just kind of popped up,
Okay, y'all. Now that I'm sorry. Brooke, do you even know what you were saying?
Nope. Go ahead, Brittany. Whomever else.
My thing is really.
Wait, you was asking about how, like, what else can we do? Because you don't want the hype to die down and we forget. I think one important thing that a lot of Black people just don't think works, and I don't know why, because if you pay attention in school, like, they tell you how the government works. Now, it don't necessarily work in our favor all the time, but voting. There were hundreds of Black people who did not participate in vote. Like, we are not the minority. Like, they call us that, but we're not. You know what I mean?
We're not.
But if we voted, Donald Trump wouldn't be the president. if we had all voted the way that I think that we probably would have voted, he wouldn't have been the president. I don't know if that means that we would have been in a better situation or worse, but there were hundreds of thousands of Black people in the United States of America that just did not go vote.
Absolutely. Because I remember that
not
night,
only that,
like he was losing. When I went to sleep, he was losing. When I woke up, that motherfucker was president. I'm sorry, I'm cussing today, in case y'all didn't know. But he was president. So had every single person who was of voting age went out to go and vote, we would not be in this predicament.
But there's a conception in the Black community that voting does not work. How, like, you know it don't work if you don't do it.
Please join us next week as we continue to discuss this movement, Black Lives Matter, Part 2.